Well, good morning. Good morning. It's a first on the Automotive Troublemaker Live. I got Nathan sitting next to me because Paul ran out of chargers. Tariffs, Tesla, and Google's AI is what we're chatting about this morning.
Oh man, it's like everything is crazy this morning. What is going on with this world?
I wanna create like the makeup story, the story that like that it didn't actually happen, but like do it with some video edits about Paul going up the East Coast and having issues like charging, getting in at 3 a.m, but make it way more exorbitant than what probably actually happened. That's what I want to do.
For sure. Oh, for sure. Right. Like there's badgers and there's, there's
of course badgers, right? There's a fox that comes out of the woods, right? They're out there feeding deer out of their hands, right? Like that's exactly what it is. Nathan, you've been on the morning show on Saturdays, but I think this is actually your first time ever officially co-hosting the Daily Show.
This is true. This is a first.
It's a big. We had to do it before we got to episode 1,000, right? Episode 1,000 is coming up. You had to get in the first 1,000, right?
trying to edge my way in here somehow.
That's awesome. Well, hey, we've only got a couple quick things this morning. Obviously, ASOTU is alive and well. It's breathing. It's going. People are buying tickets. They're getting hotel rooms. We're about to be releasing a ton of schedule stuff. We've got speakers lined up. We've got some incredible topics across AI, across the industry updates. Like if you want to talk about it, and it's in the industry, it's happening at ASOTU. We don't spare any topic. It's not just a marketing conference. It's not just an operations. We get into fixed ops. We get into technology. We get into expansion and growth, all of those things in a 2-day jam-packed schedule. Make sure that if you haven't got your tickets, you get them now because you don't want to suffer the price increase, and you want to make sure and get your hotel because we will sell out of the primary block at the main hotel, and it is a gorgeous hotel. My wife actually this weekend, she was like, we were at a hotel and doing something for our 15th anniversary. She was like, I think those hotels in Baltimore are like some of the nicest hotels that we've stayed in. So that's what we get. That's what we get.
Yeah, I mean, so I have the privilege of getting to sit with you and Paul and Al, our events director, and like plan some of the schedule and talk through speakers. And I've done this for a couple of years now, but it is amazing to me how much we cover over the course of a 2-day event, right? Like we aren't kidding when it is top to bottom, anything that you can think about in the store, outside of the store, looking at the global industry, right? Everything, we will cover it. And we just announced a couple speakers. Well, I'm not sure we announced them, but there's a couple more speakers on the website. So if you want to go like poke your head over there, a couple people have said yes. And, you might get a little more peek at who's going to speak.
Go check it out. Awesome. All right, let's get into the news today. Hey, Nathan's going to be color commentating. He's got opinions on this. Let me tell you, he tells us his opinions off screen. So we'll see what his opinions are today. The U.S. has enacted through the White House, and obviously Donald Trump leading a lot of this charge, 25% tariffs on imports starting today from Canada and Mexico, and throwing the highly integrated North American production network into what looks like to be some turmoil. The tariffs are effective today, and everything except for Canadian energy gets the 25%. Canadian energy gets 10%. Obviously, Canada and Mexico responding with their own tariffs. Industry experts are predicting that vehicle prices could rise between $4,000 and $10,000. Ford CEO Jim Farley said that prolonged tariffs could, quote, blow a hole in the U.S. industry that we have never seen. Flavio Volpe, president of the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association, said that there's a potential for U.S. and Canadian auto production to revert to, quote, 2020 pandemic level idling and temporary layoffs within the week. This week, key auto models at risk are the Toyota RAV4, the Ford Mustang Mach-E, Chevy Equinox, Blazer, the Honda Civic, and CR-V. European automakers also have a lot of manufacturing in Mexico, including Volkswagen, Stellantis, and BMW. And the wild output here is their European stocks also saw a significant drop. The automobile and parts index in Europe fell 3.8%. Continental AG, a major supplier, saw an 8.4% drop in shares. The Bernstein research analyst Daniel Reska said, unless there's a swift policy reversal, we'll anticipate severe disruptions in North America supply chains and automotive profit margins. Gonna be an interesting week or two as we see how this actually impacts all the way down to retail.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things on this, right? You saw yesterday, and if you read our morning daily pushback email, you saw we talked about this there, that Honda is going to move their Civic manufacturing to Indiana to potentially avoid some of this. I don't know how quick they'll be able to move it, but to address some of that. But I think the interesting thing for me here is the effect on Europe. You know, Trump and the administration have talked about bringing auto tariffs in, I think, in April for some of the auto imports from Europe. But these global effects of what we're dealing with here definitely at play. And I think the other thing, go ahead.
Well, and the thing that I think is staggering to me is it's not just new vehicle pricing, but we're going to be looking at parts things too, right? A lot of this is the supplier parts network. And so when we look at, wholesale parts are a massive part of a dealer's business, and that's going to potentially see some pretty quick impact because the pace and speed at which parts hit parts shelves is really high. It's a very fast turnaround from production to parts shelf. So it's not just new car pricing or availability, which a lot of consumers are kind of hearing and seeing the fear around. But it also could be, a little bit of residual into the parts. I would say this is a great time for communication to your people. Let them know why or why not the impact might be on your brand. Look at the brands, the manufacturers that are going to have the highest impact here. And hey, maybe there's an opportunity to drive some net new sales because of potential scarcity out there in the market.
Yeah, and I remember, so back when the UAW strike was happening, was that 20?
Gosh, that was like a year and a half ago. Yeah.
Was that end of 22? It must have been
23.
So 23. I'm getting my years confused. 23. So we had Patrick Abad on an episode of The Wheelhouse hosted by Daniel Gover back then, and Daniel asked him, how do you address this with a customer? And Patrick said, here's what I want my people to say. Look, this might affect us, but we are going to make sure that it doesn't affect you as the customer. And that might be tough with this stuff coming, but as much as possible in our stores and our interactions with customers, even just in our demeanor when they ask us about it, not to freak out, and not that we would, but just keep a calm and level head when you're dealing with people, and do everything you can to make sure that none of this reaches the consumer at all.
Yep. Well, speaking of reaching the consumer.
Stop. Segue.
Time. Tesla's reaching the consumer, but not in the way that we all expected them. Used Tesla Model 3 and Model Y vehicles saw the steepest depreciation of any cars in 2024, according to Fast Company's analysis of some car gurus data. Model Y prices dropped 25.5%, while Model 3 prices fell 25% from January 24 to January 25. Comparatively, the Nissan Maxima only dropped 5.2%, and the Ford Mustang declined 5%. Here's the top 10 biggest losers in depreciation last year: the Model Y, the Model 3, Land Rover, Range Rover, Jeep Wrangler 4xe, the Chevrolet Express Cargo. Everybody saw that one coming. The Ford Transit Connect, the Ram ProMaster, Land Rover Range Rover Sport, the Chevrolet Bolt EV. Clear reasons on why that might be the case, and the Ford Expedition, all with over 19% depreciation. The analysis covered used models from 2015 to 2023, focusing on the 200 most common car models. So the Tesla used car market a little bit drying up last year.
Well, I think we've talked about this too with EVs, and especially Tesla. It is as much a piece of tech as it is a car. Yep. And you think about tech, and whether it's computers or phones or any sort of thing like that, the depreciation on those is pretty significant right off the bat too. So that tracks for me. I think the interesting one that I'm not sure about is you've got a lot of commercial vehicles on here.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's interesting to me.
Well, and you look at what Rivian's doing now with commercial vehicles and entering that space, and you wonder if people are looking at these opportunities to have a different experience for the commercial fleet. For sure. And all of a sudden the legacy commercial vehicles aren't as kind of sexy or in market type thing.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I also think like Tesla was significantly overvalued for quite some time, right? Slim, you know, not a lot of availability, a little bit higher price point. So you might have just seen a little bit more of a leveling off to what I would consider like normalized, right?
Yep.
So
we'll and you have seen them also like slash prices regularly.
The new car side, right? And so
and that always contributes as well.
Speaking of slashing,
stop. Segue time.
Here it is. Google co-founder Sergey Brin is back and pushing Google DeepMind teams, their AI teams, to accelerate their progress toward AGI, artificial general intelligence. In a newly released memo, Brin outlines the urgency and expectations for Google's AI teams. Listen to these. He emphasized the need for 60-hour work weeks, daily office attendance, so no more of that remote stuff, faster execution by prioritizing simple solutions, code efficiency, and small-scale experiments for faster iteration. He calls for a shift away from, quote, nanny projects and urges the team to trust their users more. Brin, who has no formal role at Google beyond a board seat, stepped in over the head of Google DeepMind Demi Hasabi, signaling the urgency of the AGI race. The quote is, I think we have all the ingredients to win this race, but we are going to have to turbocharge our efforts. They're putting it in overdrive, according to Sergey Brin.
Yeah, so I have a question for you first. I'm going to put you on the spot here, Kyle, because I know you're obviously involved in ASOTU. You've got Auto Genius. You're doing other stuff. How many hours do you think you work a week?
I don't think I want to answer that question.
Okay. So you're probably right about where Serge.
Yeah, I definitely hit that probably 60 plus or minus a little bit, but you know, I'm a founder. It's like you start doing startups,
you're a founder,
you know,
right? So, I mean, and I've got the ASOTU thing. I've got like a couple side gig things going on, so I'm probably in around that 60-hour work week as well. And I think the interesting thing from his memo for me is that he says like that's the sweet spot, but he doesn't urge going too far beyond that, right?
Interesting.
So there's something there to this that I think is that we can take away, that like it's okay to work hard. It's good to be in office together.
I can tell you that's true. I was up in I was up in the Syracuse office last week, and we had like 5 people together. I was like, "Whoa, this is crazy!" Right? I envy our dealership partners and friends that get the opportunity to sit face to face and like work out problems. You know, demanding that 60-hour work week. We've seen where there's successes and failures, especially in the retail auto business. But I think anytime you are driving toward a challenge, right, I think it's something that the team can get behind. You see like, I know dealerships that they'll last week of the month or like that last day where everybody's all on all day. And I you know, like the team gets energized by that stuff. It's a question on how long a company like Google can sustain that level of pressure. You know, this race for the AGI thing out there where general intelligence happens in the AI world. We'll see if it ever actually happens. But I agree, hard work isn't bad. Demanded hard work can only last for a time, and we'll see whether or not that produces the results that they're looking for.
Do you think that they'll
what are they gonna do?
Go. Do you think they'll get there? AGI? Do you think it'll happen?
I don't think they'll get there. I think humans are too much. Humans are the reason why we're here. Love humans, baby.